Okay, we're now looking at our more formal notes for properties of a rectangle. Remember, a rectangle is a special parallelogram, so it does have the 5 properties of a parallelogram. 2 special properties for a rectangle. For a rectangle, what makes it a rectangle is all 4 angles are right angles. Or 90 degrees. Okay, the other very special property of a rectangle is the diagonals are congruent. Okay, they're congruent. They do still bisect each other, so that means all 4 halves end up being congruent. Okay, so 5 properties of the parallelogram still remain, and then we have the 2 additional properties because it is a rectangle. And we're going to find out there are some other things that do come into play. Okay, looking at number 1, they give us 2 side lengths for the rectangle. They want to know QR. QR is opposite PS, so that is 10. SR is opposite PQ, so that is 24. SQ. SQ is a diagonal. Okay, what we have here, this is a right angle. And let me use a color pen to kind of highlight. We have a right triangle. So this is going to take us back. We have a right triangle. We know 2 sides. We're trying to find the third. We're going to use Pythagorean theorem. Pythagorean theorem, hopefully you remember that. That's a squared plus b squared equals c squared. The c is your hypotenuse. Hypotenuse is the longest side. It's always opposite your right angle. Okay? It's the one that's on one side by itself. Longest side, it's by itself. Hopefully that makes sense. The a and the b are the legs. So on this one, we're going to have 10 squared plus 24 squared equals c squared. Okay, I'm going to leave it as c. That's the side we're trying to find. 10 squared is, well, put that in your calculator. 10 squared plus 24 squared. If I put that in my calculator, I get 676. That is equal to c squared. Now, we've talked about this a number of times. To undo the square, or the inverse of squaring, is square root. So I am going to square root both sides. Okay, so if you're using a smartphone, you may want to turn it sideways so you get the scientific calculator. Square root cancels out the square, so we get the c. Square root of 676 is 26. So that means that SQ, the hypotenuse of this right triangle, is 26. This diagonal has to be longer than either one of the sides of our rectangle. Okay? So in doing these rectangle problems, you will have to do Pythagorean theorem. Be heads up on that. Okay, PR is the other diagonal. Diagonals are congruent, so thank goodness I do not have to do work on that. That is 26 also. QT is half my diagonal. Diagonals bisect each other. Half of 26 is 13. So I had to do a lot of work, but it paid off. I was able to use that for a lot of different things. Okay, let's come over and look at number 2. They're giving me half a diagonal, so kind of just keep it tucked away in the back of your head. The whole diagonal would be twice that. I know one side. Okay, AC, they're asking me to find AC. Well, that's pretty easy because if this is 15, my whole diagonal is 30. My iPad's talking to me. Okay, BD is my other diagonal. It's the same length. It's 30 as well. BE is half a diagonal. Remember, all your diagonal halves are the same. That's 15. They're being pretty easy on us so far. AB. AB is opposite DC. That is 27. BC. Now we got to pay the piper. BC. I'm going to put a little X here. Okay, I know this is my hypotenuse. It is 30. This is my right angle. So on this one, doing a squared plus b squared equals c squared. My hypotenuse, opposite the right angle, is 30. That longest side is always on one side by itself. So I've got 30 squared is equal to x squared plus 27 squared. Okay. Basically, you're going to subtract the 27 squared from both sides. So just put in your calculator 30 squared minus 27 squared. All right, if you put that in your calculator, 30 squared minus 27 squared, you should get 171. Okay. Then, to undo the square, we have to take the square root of both sides. You get a decimal. Goes on forever. We need to round that. This is approximately equal to, we're going to round to 1 decimal place, 13.1. Okay, we will often get decimals on these. Okay, so be careful. Make sure when you're doing these problems, if you know your diagonal is going to be your hypotenuse. That goes on one side by itself. Okay. Now let's look at number 3. On number 3, we are looking at some angles. Now it looks like they only gave us one angle, but don't forget, we know we have 4 right angles. Be careful there. Also, because we do have parallel sides, we have alternate interior angles. Okay, first thing they ask us for is the measure of angle MJK. MJK. Well, that's easy. That's got to be a right angle, right? So that's 90 degrees. Then MJL. Okay, these two angles go together to make that 90-degree angle. So that's going to be 90 minus 27. Well, that's a 3. I borrowed one from that, so that's an 8. which makes that a 6, so 63 degrees. JLK, JLK, this angle. This angle is alternate interior to this angle. They're congruent. Alternate interior angles are congruent. So that is also 63 degrees. KML, KML, this angle. All right, a couple different ways to look at it. This is an isosceles triangle. If this is 63 degrees, probably should put double arc there. This is an isosceles triangle. If this is 63 degrees, that's got to be 63 degrees. And we know 63 plus 27 is 90. So if this is 63, that's got to be 27. If you're not real sure about that, work that out. This has got to be 27 degrees. You're only going to have 2 different angle measures there. Okay, these are all going to be either 27 or 63. MNL. MNL. All right, well, I know this is 27. Again, I've got an isosceles triangle. In an isosceles triangle, base angles are congruent. All of that old stuff keeps coming back to haunt us. So this is 27 degrees, 27 degrees. So what are we going to do? We're going to do 180 minus 27 minus 27. So we get a 6 here, 2, 126. Okay, hopefully you're good with that. All right, on this one, they give us this angle. That's it. So it's going to be almost backwards of this one. Think about it like that, okay? First thing they ask us is X, W, Y. X, W, Y. All right, forget about the rest of it. Just go back to, remember when we did the isosceles triangles? This is the vertex angle. So we're going to do 180 minus 64. Okay, so that's a 7. I'm borrowing. This is 10 minus 4. 6. 116. So these two angles together have to add to be 116. I need to share that 116 evenly between the two. Divide by 2. What's 116 divided by 2? 58. So both of these angles are 58 degrees. Let's write that on there. Okay, now they ask us for YXZ. YXZ. That's the other part. We know these two have to add to be 90. So what is 90 minus 58? Again, we're going to borrow, so must forget about that. So this is going to be a 2. We borrowed, so 32. This is 32 degrees. Now remember, each angle pair at each corner is going to be 32 and 58 degrees. WVZ. WVZ. This angle. What do we know about this angle pair? We've got a straight line. What do they add up to? 180. Well, we already did this arithmetic. 180 minus 64 is 116. This angle has to be 116. Okay, XWZ. XWZ. Oh, well, that's our right angle. That's 90 degrees. XZY. X all the way down here to ZY. This angle, this is alternate interior to the 58. So this is 58 degrees. Okay, that is really all the angle pairs and combinations that you can run into. From there, you should be good. Okay, so you're going to have the rest of this to practice on. What I'm going to do with this is I'm going to put a document up for you to input answers. So it's going to be like, this is A, B, C, D, or actually I think I can put those in there. Please excuse my less than signs for angle signs, just expedites the process. But you can plug in your answers and it will let you know which ones you have correct, which ones you do not have correct, and I will allow you to resubmit answers. If you're getting something wrong and you do not understand why you're getting it wrong, just shoot me an email. Make sure you take a picture of your work so I can see what you're doing. That way I can tell you exactly what you're doing wrong. But we're changing things up now on our practice. I'm going to put a document in there that allows you to insert your answer, and that way you know instantly. That way you don't have to wait for me. Okay, so put your answers in there, and that way you know if you're getting it right or not. If you're not getting it right, then shoot me an email and I'll get back to you letting you know what the problem is. Take care. Hope you guys are doing awesome, and I miss you all so much. Take care. Love you all.